So if there are questions, just raise your hand and open up your camera. You should have permission to open up your camera, and we'll give you access to unmute. And that way you can ask your question directly. Um, and we'll get to see who's asking questions. We'll get to put a name to a face, put a face to a name as well. And usually there's a very good way to sort of just connect and engage and get to see all the folks that are joining from such diverse parts of both the country and the world as well, right? So hopefully that makes sense. All right, perfect. Thanks, Piyush, for the confirmation. Awesome, guys. So there's still more folks joining in, but we'll let them in just because we are on time, so we'll get started. So welcome, everyone. My name is Mayank Grover. I'm the founder of Outscal. I've been in the gaming industry for the past 12 years now, close to 12 years. I had the luxury of working across the globe, spent years in US working with companies like Electronic Arts, in California with other studios like Kixeye and Dana. And then I've worked with a very diverse set of games in India with casino game companies who are doing both virtual casino games and real money casino games. And then after that, I've spent a few years working with a lot of different startups, some building real money platforms, and not really building their own games, but building technology and platforms, others building hyper casual games, publishers who have built a lot of hyper casual games and have acquired a lot of games. So all in all, in my decade plus years of experience within the industry, I had the privilege of working with some really great teams, really great people, a lot of different kind of game projects, from 100-player MMO games to real money casino, to hyper casual solo experiences, and even tried doing 2 of my own game startups before this, before Outscal. So since 2018, I've been working on Outscal, been building Outscal as a community-led platform. So essentially, you'll get to know a little bit more about Outscal if you're new and interacting with us for the first time. But essentially, our goal at Outscal is to enable a community where people who are interested about building games, learning how to build games, exploring the art of building games, and whether it's for professional reason, whether it's for indie game development, whether it's they're already working in studios, it doesn't matter. People come from all different kind of shapes and sizes from different walks of life. So the idea for Outscale is that we enable a community in a way where we can help a lot of people to follow this passion, pursue their dream of learning how to build games, connecting with publishers, connecting with developers, finding teammates to hire, and so on and so forth, right? So at the heart of it, Outscale is a community, and there is a Discord community as well that you guys can join in if you're interested. Awesome. So that's a little bit of an introduction. Today I have Satnam and Piyush with me. Satnam will be assisting me with the conversation throughout, and Piyush will also help us run the overall session today. If you guys have any questions, as always, usually the best way of going about it is that you raise your hand in Zoom. So use the raise hand feature in Zoom and just open up your camera. So while we are talking about the industry broadly, just open up your camera, and would love to take questions from you guys as well. And as you guys know, the session for today is more centered around the recession and the gaming industry in general. So, if there are questions, we can definitely dive straight into questions as well. And like I said, we want to keep this session very interactive and engaged. So it's more of a two-way communication rather than me just talking about it. So if there are questions, just feel free to pop them onto the screen now, and we'll start taking questions around the recession, around the gaming industry. And if there are other questions around how does the gaming industry work, if there is a recession coming in globally, financially, and so on and so forth, I'm happy to answer any of those questions as well. Harsh is saying, I haven't reached home, can get this recording. Yes, so the session will be recorded. We'll share across the link. Don't worry about that. Okay, awesome. Vimar, Shamant, I can see some familiar faces as well. If you guys have any questions as well, feel free to pop in. But yeah, so I think the broader question, I'll get started with just one broader theme here. Since the session was more around how to navigate kind of this murky waters with recession. A lot of people are doubtful whether they will have job opportunities to explore, whether companies are doing layoffs, especially when we are seeing companies like Amazon, Facebook, these juggernauts, trillion-dollar companies doing layoffs and rescinding offers, job offers. How will that impact the overall gaming industry? So just give me a yes or a no in the chat if you guys think gaming is going to be impacted by the upcoming recession, or some say we are already in a recession. What do you guys think before I share some pointers from my side? Yes, no, if there's something more elaborate that you would like to share, would love to get you on the voice as well. So what do you guys think? Yes, gaming will be impacted by recession? No, it will not. Okay, so a couple of yeses, a couple of no's. Okay, I can see a mixed bag of responses. Okay, maybe that's also valid. Maybe is a valid response. Less money to spend, less ads. Okay, that's fair. That's a very valid point. If companies have less money to spend on ads, then obviously there's going to be less inventory for ad, which means developers get to make less money. Okay, that's a very valid point. Anything else? Anyone else wants to add? A lot of startups and indies. Yeah, that's true. But work from home impact is reducing. Yeah, I think work from home definitely impact is reducing, and that's a COVID kind of a thing, right? But now we are in a very different kind of a financial impact. So I don't think the two things are kind of directly correlated in some shape or form, but there might be some underlying parameters here. But yeah, I think Ramaya, that was a very valid point, that if people and companies have lesser money to spend in ads, naturally that would mean less revenue for games as well, right? So I'll poke in a little bit of a question here, right? Like when we think about companies like Uber, when we think about companies like delivery, Amazon, right? E-commerce or any other platform, right? There is one very fundamental difference when it comes to gaming companies and these broader tech startups / companies, right? Can anybody take a guess at what it might be? And feel free to just drop it in the chat. If you want to talk about it, we can discuss on. I can bring you up on voice as well. So anything that you guys feel that's the broader difference between the tech ecosystem and the gaming ecosystem, right? If you understand this, you'll understand where the macro might go, because we have seen this kind of story play out in the beginning of COVID as well. Yeah. So when you think about companies like Uber, when you think about companies like Amazon, right? How would you kind of differentiate them at a very fundamental user level, right? How would you differentiate them compared to companies like your game studios, basically, right? The Supercells of the world, the PUBGs of the world, and so on and so forth, right? Like, what's the core fundamental difference? Anyone? Game is like virtual and it is like real products. Sure. But a lot of these companies could have virtual products as well, right? So not necessarily just real products. There would be a similar example of companies that are doing virtual products too, right? Sajan says entertainment. Sajan, do you want to elaborate? So essentially, entertainment is kind of, the right thread. What you need to think about is, right? When you think about tech companies, right, outside the gaming space, what is it that they're trying to do? They're trying to solve a specific pain point for the users, right? Through their product, right? So if I am a customer of Uber, my main pain point is what? I want to go from one place to another, right? That's the main pain point, and that's what Uber is trying to address. If I am a customer of Amazon, what is my main pain point? I want to buy something and I want to check out the prices and place an order if I find the right item, right? So essentially, majority of these tech companies, there are a few exceptions, of course, but majority of these tech companies are essentially looking to solve one, or rather a set of specific pain points for the customers. And that's how they start and grow, right? So you can pretty much do this exercise for any company that you can think of, right? Think about everyday products that you use. WhatsApp, right? It was a communication app because the founder of the company didn't have an easy way to communicate with friends and family when he was traveling internationally. That's how WhatsApp got started, right? At the end of the day, any company that is building a product and charging for the product or the services that they're offering, it needs to serve a core value prop. It needs to solve for a specific pain point, right? But gaming in that sense is very unique, right? Sajjan mentioned entertainment. Nishant also mentioned gaming is entertainment, whereas others are more consumer-based products or even businesses-based products, right? So if you can think about that, okay, today I'm spending I'm buying 50% of my essential goods on the daily necessities that I need on Amazon, but I'm buying 50% of optional things such as new headphones or wireless speakers or these electronic gadgets. If there is a financial recession, right, what am I going to do as an individual, as a consumer, right? I'm going to cut down on my extra spending, right? And that comes out of from where? From Uber, from Amazon. I might take the metro or public transport and not go by Uber as much, right? So it's those extra places where you are spending money in, those usually get kind of redirected in times of financial stress, right? And that's typical sort of how consumer behavior works, right? But when you talk about the gaming industry at large, there's a very different kind of a sort of a playbook there, because at the end of the day, you're not solving a specific problem per se, right? You're sort of meeting a much core sort of human need for entertainment, relaxation, and connection, right? So the games like PUBG and others, where you're getting together in a room, chatting with your friends on voice or strangers on voice and building new connections, platforms like Discord and all, right, that fall on the borderline of tech and entertainment kind of, right? These meet an even deeper fundamental human need and in the psychology pyramid, right? And as a result, a lot of these games, a lot of these products would still continue to see adoption increase, right? I mean, we saw the story play out just 2 years back at the start of the COVID, right? When a lot of these, majority of these sort of companies were trying to figure out how are they gonna, like when taxis are shut, it's global lockdown. Uber cannot run its business, right, in the real world. But game companies still had a massive opportunity because people have time. Where do they spend their time, right? When they spend their time inside games, even though the same argument would apply that people are going to cut their extra spending inside games, but still, because the games have a different way of expressing, right? So if I need to spend $10 to go watch a movie at a cinema near me, whereas I only spend 99 cents for an in-app purchase. If I'm used to buying in-app purchase and items and spending maybe $5 a month inside games, I might cut it down to like $1 or $2, right? So the actual dollar amount per household or per person might reduce, but and the amount of that companies and individuals still continue to spend within the games, that doesn't drastically just go away magically overnight, right? And that's the beauty of basically entertainment. Like Raghav mentioned in chat, right? We're solving for boredom, right? Boredom is a good way of looking at it, but essentially it's not just boredom, it's you're solving for boredom through human connection, right? You're getting the sense of competition, you're getting a sense of connection with other individuals, and so on and so forth. And that's where I think gaming kind of hits the nail on the head, and you'll see sort of, the usage of these games, downloads, usage can be in different ways, right? Retention metrics, number of downloads that you're getting, etc., usually will tend to rise upwards, especially in the time where people might be losing a lot of jobs. They might not have other avenues to spend their time. And that's when you start to have this sort of a flywheel effect where a lot more people sort of start to play your game, your word of mouth about your games kind of spread, and that brings in more people, which means chances of people spending more money in the game is higher as well, right? So if you are able to build that kind of a momentum during these downturns, that's when real sort of adoption for your games and for your products, which are kind of entertainment centric, would pick up as well, right? So those are usually sort of very macro level, right? When you zoom out, those are the kind of reasons that we are constantly seeing that gaming companies are not sort of slowing down in terms of their growth, not slowing down in terms of their estimation of how they want to grow, how aggressively they want to go, right? By the way, a quick question for everybody in the chat. Do you guys know any companies that in the gaming space might have gone through a layoffs, etc. as well? We would love to understand and know what your guys' experiences have been, what you guys have seen. Wildlife had a big one. I'm not familiar with that studio. Maybe just share some more details, Ramon, in the chat. How big was the studio, etc., etc. Ishant is saying, I see gaming companies opening more positions. So Ishant, I think our sentiment at Outscale, because we already partner with so many studios both in India, and we are now starting to expand to international markets as well. We are seeing kind of a similar pattern as well, that gaming companies have more and more positions compared to, say, what there were 6 months ago, right? So in the last 3 to 6 months, the number of positions have increased, and sort of the diversity of positions have also increased as well. Wildlife, I'm not sure about, but anyone else have heard about news or instances where gaming companies would have seen layoffs or hiring freezes or offers getting redirected and such kind of things? Just let us know in the chat. Would love to figure out and dig out why certain companies might be facing problems, whereas at macro, majority of them might be doing well as well. So Wildlife fired 200. Okay, that's bad. It was almost 20% of the company. Okay, so about 1,000 people team, and they had to let go of 200 folks. Okay, so not sure what that exact studio was doing, what kind of games they were working on, so on and so forth. But for what we have observed, at least younger teams that are maybe raising venture capital dollars and are starting to build their technology and product platforms, they are definitely expanding. That's what we are seeing. Bigger studios like GSN and Rockstar, these are like the global players as well. They have positions at an all-time high. Companies are even in discussion to open up new offices altogether in new geographies because they're venturing into new projects and so on and so forth. So macro-wise, and Satnam will share a lot more details about the job positions and so on and so forth in a little bit, and how you guys can also take some leverage out of the Outscale platform for jobs. So we'll just get into that a little bit in a bit as well, but how you can sort of leverage some of the things that we have been building internally to get exposure to the kind of job opportunities that are available with our hiring partners as well. Yeah. Wildlife, I'll definitely look it up, what exactly they were doing and so on and so forth. Ramon, if you want to join on voice, let me know. Would love to learn more about what the studio was doing. And I think one thing that majority of people do end up sort of not sort of estimating correctly is that if you are at this stage joining a new studio, right, what kind of thought process you can go through in terms of assessing what is the financial health of the studio, right? A lot of people we have seen, and we internally at Outscale have been hiring as well actively. We are expanding our product team, expanding our tech team, marketing team, pretty much across the functions. We are hiring on almost every team. And, it has been a constant, like as a founder, as a CEO, one thing that I see always is that when people come in to ask early stage startup or even mid stage startups as to I want to join this company, I want to work for this company, they don't have clarity of thought process in terms of what questions to ask to get clarity around whether this startup is the right one, whether they are going to be financially stable, are they going to be impacted in 6 months from now or 12 months from now, and so on and so forth, right? So there is a certain level of clarity as individuals that we should get, especially if you're going through the job interview process or if you're actively looking out for new opportunities. Curious, just do a raise of hand if you guys are looking out for new opportunities right now. Just use the raise hand feature in Zoom, or drop me a yes or a no. If you are actively on the lookout for new jobs, especially within the gaming space. Okay, I can see a good 7-8 folks. For others, about 30 odd folks. I'm guessing most of you guys are not. Okay, so a few folks have dropped in a yes in the chat, but a good number of folks have said yes, even on Zoom and this thing. So it's good to see. I think this would be relevant in terms of how you guys think about it as well. Quick question for everybody. Sorry, go ahead, Satnam.
Yeah, I'd just like to get an idea about how many are already working in the gaming industry. So if we could go live with a quick poll to get a insight on that as well, right?
Yep.
Cool. Just give me 1 second. I think we are live with it.
Yep.
Yeah. So just to get a sense, like what kind of audience we have, right? I hope the poll is visible.
Yes, it is.
Cool.
Yeah. If anybody is not able to see the poll, just go to the triple dots or the more option in the bottom corner of your screen. It should be hidden there. All right. So about 1/3 of the folks have put in. So guys, go ahead, just drop in your answers, and we'll close the poll in just another 10 seconds.
I can't see. Just let me know when to close, because I think there's some system error. I can't see the answers coming in on the polls.
Okay, no worries. I can do it from my side. Okay, guys. So closing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, perfect. I'll share the results with everybody as well. So I can see a good number of folks have mentioned that they are interested in getting into the industry, and about 30 odd percent, 1/3 of the audience already has experience as game programmers. So that's really good to see that we have a lot more experienced folks as well. Some have experience in other roles, but majority of I can see you guys are exploring opportunities as well. So perfect. There are a few things in the chat. Let me just quickly scan that out. Checking the news, looks like fired the non-mobile projects, stopped our initiatives outside of the mobiles. Okay, so with Wildlife, Ramon shared that the company that went through this 200 people layoff, it was majority of the experimental stuff that got cut, right? And that's a very good pattern, and kind of connects to what I was saying earlier, that if you are at this stage looking out for new opportunities, right, you should ask these questions when you're going into the interview process, right? Understand if your project that you're going to be joining, is it an experimental project? Is it part of the main thing that earns the company revenue, right? So you know that if worse comes to worse, and if some company needs to undergo a cost-cutting measure, whether you'll be in the line of fire or not, right? You need to understand these aspects, right? So, and if you are as part of the experimental division that is working on new kind of game projects, that is in the proof of concept stage, in the prototype stage, and you feel that, okay, if the recession hits, if the company gets hit hard, we might get laid off, or our entire team might get laid off, right? Then you should ask these questions regarding, how much budget are you allocating? How much of this budget is the overall revenue? Like what percentage of this is the overall revenue of the company? What happens if in the next 2 years, we still are not able to produce a game that goes live, and we are still in the experimental phase? Will the company continue to fund the experiments, or would they decide to merge it back into the main team, and so on and so forth? So as individuals, as interviewees and people going through the interview exercise, right, it's your duty to get well-informed decision. And I often feel that even folks that are interviewing within Outscal and folks that are applying to our partner companies usually are, I don't know why, they're maybe shy about it and feel uncomfortable asking these hard questions. But trust me when I say this, that most of the companies would love to see candidates ask these questions. Why? Because it tells them that you are giving it more thought than just your individual role, right? If you are applying as an artist, if you're applying as a designer, if you're applying as a programmer, it's obvious that you will ask question, right? Okay, if I'm a programmer, what kind of projects will I be working on? What kind of a technology stack? Are we using Unreal? Are we using Node.js? Are we using Unity? What exactly are we building? That's the most obvious questions that you need to answer on. But you should be asking questions around the bigger picture, especially for younger teams, right? For bigger teams also, let's say if you are interviewing with Zynga or Rockstar, and you have a senior leadership, a VP of technology or a VP of art, or somebody who's your last round of interview, go in prepared with these kind of bigger questions, right? And okay, so I see that you're hiring for art and design under this particular project. I know this project is new. How long do you plan to keep it in pre-production? While this is in pre-production and not making money, how do you plan to continue? How does the company plan to continue fund the pre-production of this? Is it through revenue from other companies? Is it through VC money? Is it through debt money? How exactly, right? You should be comfortable in asking these questions. And if a founder or the leadership team is not comfortable giving you answers, that should be a red flag to you to say that companies are not transparent with their employees, right? If they're not transparent in their responses during the interview process, most likely they will not be transparent afterwards as well, right? So these are very good indicators for you to judge on a company and get an understanding of how they run the company internally, right? Everybody says, oh, I love a company with good culture, etc., etc. But all of this is bogus, right? Like, who gets to know the culture when they're outside the company, right? Maybe you'll talk to a few people, that's pretty much it. But a lot of these hard questions around data, around numbers, around revenue, if you ask them, and if they're open to sharing this information, that tells you that they have an actual culture of transparency, an actual culture of honesty and shareability and accountability, right? So these are the kind of hard-hitting questions that you should sort of ask. But in case on the similar topic, if some of you guys have done this before, would love to learn what kind of questions you have asked. If there is a question that you asked during the interview process and that helped you, just let me know what was that question in the chat. And I think a lot of people who raised their hands, almost 50% of the audience today raised their hands that they are currently interviewing with companies or looking to interview and so on and so forth. I think like the questions that you guys will share will be very helpful as well. Okay. Omkar says, I've completed postgraduate in computing. Now I want a game there. Where should I start and how can I make a career out of it? Omkar, good question. You're looking to transition your career from your master's program, which was in advanced computing, into game development. We'll just cover that in full details once we give you guys an overview of what Outscal Academy is and how you can use that to learn things about game development, start exploring game development, and so on and so forth, right? So we'll come back to that answer in just a minute, okay? Harsh, I'm in college and do game development out of passion, but I'm very excited to get into game industry. Perfect, awesome, Harsh. Ramon, do you think asking about the investments the company has received is something good or could cause a bad impression? Ramon, if a company has received investments, right, whether it's through venture capital, whether it's through angel investors, etc., right, it's not at all a bad impression kind of a thing. You should ask. In fact, I would go as far as say that if you are interviewing with an early stage or a mid-stage startup that would not be generating a lot of revenue, right, but would be relying on external sources of funding in order to grow the team, in order to build the product, in order to launch the game to the market, as a candidate going through the interview process, it is your right and duty to ask these questions. If you don't ask them, you are making bad decisions about your own career, right? It's the same thing as, going to a doctor for a checkup and not asking whether this doctor is legitimate and where have they done their degrees and where have they practiced and all, right? Just with somebody sitting in a clinic of a doctor, you don't just go in and directly get a treatment from that person, right? So it's kind of similar. It's your career, it's your decision, and you need to make sure that you have all the data points available in order for you to, make the right decision. If the company is not transparently sharing, let them come up with a valid reason as to why they would not share, right? Sometimes companies would say things like, hey, this is confidential information. We have not yet shared with the world yet, so we cannot share with you. Only the internal team members know about it. Then offer and say, I'm happy to sign a non-disclosure agreement. I'm happy to sign a one-pager NDA. And that way, if I leak out this information tomorrow, you can legally sue me, right? I'm happy to do that. But without knowing these critical details, I will not be able to make a decision, right? Because at the end of the day, these are your career decisions, right? It's obviously your decision at the end of the day. Nobody can force you to join or leave a company, right? So you will have to say the final yes, no matter what the case may be. But you need to make sure that you're hitting those hard questions as well, right? And even when company has shared this transparently, let's say company is transparent and open and they share all these details with you, you should still do your due diligence. You should do your Google searching, because a lot of this information is usually publicly available as well, right? It might be available on certain websites. You might see only 50% of the information, especially like financial records and such like that. But a lot of times you can get a sense of, is that correct? If the company tells you, hey, we raised a round of $2 million last year in December, right? But you see absolutely no mention of it anywhere in Google, something is fishy, right? Something doesn't add up, right? But if you see, okay, yes, the company has raised X amount of dollars because you saw it on 3-4 different websites, that X amount is not visible, but the timeline is correct. Maybe 1 or 2 names of the investors are correct. So you get to piece information together to understand that, yes, whatever they told me seems like 80% it's correct, right? And you can assume that the rest 20% is also true. So that way, you can be confident that you're making the right decision and you're talking to the right people in the company who have, a responsibility towards new members that are getting hired as well, right? Hopefully that makes sense. But definitely do not think that this causes a bad impression. If it causes a bad impression, that's in my book a red flag that you should reconsider whether you even want to work for that company or not, because then they don't have a culture of transparency. Ishant is asking, is it internal projects or client? How much old client is? What is the current sign duration? Internal, then what are they trying to do? How do I help them? Do they help me for upskilling, certifications, etc.? Yeah, perfect. I think, Ishant, this is a very good set of questions that you have shared. So thank you. So I think when I asked that if you guys have asked these interesting questions to companies, it will help you assess a lot of these companies, especially companies that might be doing client work and might be working for hire for other bigger studios or publishers and so on and so forth. It's important to understand these kind of things. If I have a contract with a publisher, how long is that contract? What is the dollar amount of this contract, right? If you have a 15 people team or a 20 people team, how much is your burn rate on a monthly basis? Burn rate basically means how much money is the company spending every month in salaries and laptops and software licenses, all those costs combined on a monthly basis. How much is a company spending? How much is the company making revenue-wise on a monthly basis? And how much runway you have, which means what kind of a duration will the company stay alive for if the same trajectory continues? So for example, right, like with Outscal, we have a runway for the next 6 years, right? That's what I tell when people ask this question in the interview process to me when we are hiring at Outscal, right? What that essentially means is that based on the revenue that we generate monthly and based on the expenses that we have, if the equation remains the same through and through for the next 6 years, we will continue to spend, but at the end of the 6-year mark, we'll not have more money, right? But obviously, we'll continue to increase our revenue, and that would be the aim for the company as well, right? So once you get these kind of clarity, you can say how good or bad a company is financially, right? Especially when it's a game company. In the early stages, they would spend a lot of time on technology, design, gameplay, and so on and so forth, in order to really get a kick-ass games. And game companies usually have this kind of a curve where it will start very, very slow, but then once the game hits, it just knocks it out of the park, right? So the company should have enough financial capital to hold for that duration, right? And that's what you're trying to figure out. Okay. Raghav, I've asked about workload or my role in the project. I've also asked about what is in the project, right? So those, Raghav, are good questions when it's talking about the specific role that you'll be working with, right? What kind of responsibility you'll be handling. Another good question that I can add, and I think you guys should ask, is like, what do you expect from me as an employee? When I join your company, especially if you're talking to somebody senior, say like a VP of technology or VP of engineering, or even the founder in a younger startup, right? You can clearly ask, what do you expect from me in the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? That's a very precise question to ask. And that gives you clarity around what do the team and the company have planned for you once you join in, right? We need you to immediately start solving bugs because we are seeing a lot of bugs in production. Or we need to completely redo the UI if you're an artist joining the UI team, and you'll be starting on the first project, which will take you 60 days to complete. So first 60 days, your major project is going to be complete redo of the UI for the game, for example, right? So having that clarity to ask these specific questions, tell me what do you expect from me in the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. That's a very precise question that you should be going in and asking, right? And that gives you clarity as to when you join in, what are you going to be expected to deliver, right? So these are some of the questions that we feel are, in today's day and age, smart questions to ask, but so many good candidates completely miss out on these opportunities, and they end up chasing, oh, I'm getting $1,000 more of CTC here, I'm just going to go there. And then 6 months later realize, oh shit, I made the bad decision because that company is doing kick-ass work, whereas my company now is struggling, right? So having this level of clarity is essentially what helps you make more informed sort of global decisions. Okay, cool. So I think there are more questions coming in. What I want to do is let's hand over the mic quickly to Sutam. We'll jump into giving you guys a quick overview of the Outscal platform where you can directly check out the job opportunities with our hiring partners. I'll continue to pick up questions in between. So keep the questions coming in and flowing. As and when we take pause in between, we'll continue to take questions. So keep throwing questions in the chat as well, guys. All right. Yep, Satam,
Cool.
over to you.
Thanks, man. Cool. I've quickly dropped the link to Outscale Academy to everyone, but bear with me for a couple of minutes. I'll quickly share my screen and show how things work over here. And from there onwards, you can yourself go and check out stuff on the Academy itself. Cool. So I hope my screen is visible at the moment. Just let me know once it's visible.
Yep.
Cool. So just going through a quick overview, you have to log in, of course, but once you log in, this is what the home page might look like for some people. There are, of course, some profile setup steps that you'll need to complete. And once you're done with this, this is what the home page usually looks like. There are two options. You can either go for upskill or unlock jobs. I'll start with jobs and then gradually move on to upskilling and stuff. So talking about jobs in general, right now we have posted a limited number of jobs from our partner companies, basically on the platform. As you can see, most of these companies we are currently partnering with and working with. You can set up your filters and find the right kind of job for you. Just a more detailed overview about it. When you go in and start an application for any company, there are a set of assessments that need to be done. These are pretty small 10-15 minutes assessments that will just give the company as well as a better idea about your technical strengths and your technical background before your profile goes to the company. Just because once you are on the other side, like right now you might be applying for jobs, but I can assure you most of you 5 to 10 years down the lane, you will be hiring yourself and you will feel a lot of spam comes in for the company. So these assessments just helps us evaluate the better candidates that are better aligned for these jobs and all. So this is the section where you can come adjust the filters based on your number of experience or the CTC that you are looking for. Maybe you're looking for a 4 to 6 year experience job and CTC range is 15 to 25 LPA. If you're looking for a higher CTC, so you can accordingly set your filters and figure out the job that works best for you at the moment. Right now, we've just recently gone live with this, so there are limited number of jobs here, but in the upcoming more or less 1 week, there should be roughly 500 to 800 jobs on this platform, just because right now in the gaming space itself, as Mayank mentioned, companies are hiring left and right, and there's just a huge lack of good talent overall in the gaming industry, and that's what we are trying to solve over here. Anything, Mayank, you'd like to add on the job side of things?
No, not necessarily. I think the only thing I'll add is like just avoid sort of spam applications, basically, right? Like if you see something that you really resonate with and fits where your skill set lies and your interest lies, because like I can see, Rusu asking regarding Unreal specific jobs, right? So if you know your skill set is in Unreal and you want to pursue Unreal, unless you really want to take up opportunities in Unity, don't go for Unity jobs. Just stay focused on Unreal related Unreal related job opportunities, because that's where your skill set is. That's where companies will value you more as well, right? While you might be able to successfully transition, where you don't want to, don't just do it for the heck of it. It just wastes companies' time. It just wastes your time. Treat your time as valuable. Don't sort of just apply for the sake of application. Instead, treat it very seriously, because once you're into the process, you will, as most people understand within the gaming industry, the interview process is usually very lengthy. So you want to continue, be careful about where you allocate your time. And this would be very evident to folks who are already working, because they will always be going to be crunching for time when you're already a working professional, trying to find your next job and doing a bunch of your hobby projects, etc. as well. Time becomes the most limited commodity.
Cool, sounds good. I guess there's a good question I can see, how to identify the correct expected CTC for oneself. Man, you want to take this one quickly?
Yeah, so Ishant, good question overall. Basically, the question is, how do I identify what should be my pay range, right? What should be my pay grade, right? Based on my skill level, based on my this thing as well. I think it's very subjective depending on where you are, what you do, and so on and so forth. So there isn't a black or a white answer here, but there are few things that you can do to identify a tentative range. For example, when this is a hard rule, guys, just like trust us on this. We have already been working with a lot of partners. We understand how hiring works. When you start interviewing with a company and you start going through that process, right? Every company is going to pressurize you to tell them what is your expected salary range for this particular role, or do you have a fixed number? Do you have a range? That's the job of a recruiter or an HR in that company, right? But your job as a candidate is to never say a number. Never, 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 never. I cannot repeat how many times I should say never, but just never say a number, right? People think that, oh, the company might not move me forward through the process, etc., etc. Trust me, if you don't say a number, you will be in a better position. Why? Let's imagine a scenario that you ask that, okay, I'm expecting $1,000, right? And the company had a budget for $2,000, right? Now suddenly you have underquoted and you'll never get an opportunity. They'll most likely come back, and if everything goes well, they'll give you an offer for $1,000 most of the time, right? That's what's going to happen, right? And if it's the reverse, right? I think, Satam, something messed up on your screen. We're not able to see the screen. Okay, now it's working. So in case, if it's the reverse, instead, let's say if the company quoted 1,000, or company internally knew that their limit was $1,000 and you quoted $2,000, while you might be really excited about the company, you might be really passionate about, oh, this company is awesome. I love this project that they're working on. I would do anything to get into this company, and so on and so forth. You might not even get the opportunity to even go through the first round of interview. just because your price range and the company's expectation and budget just did not meet, right? So it's always better to get through the process first before discussing on any numbers, even though no matter how hard the company pressurizes you to share that number. Nothing bad is ever going to happen if you do not share the number. People feel, oh, if I don't share the number, company is going to drop me through the interview process, they're not going to let me through, and so on and so forth. No, it doesn't happen. If you have been shortlisted for a resume call, like they've screened your resume, looks good, a recruiter or an HR or somebody in their team has called out to you, naturally you're a good fit and they're thinking about moving you forward in the process. By not sharing a number, you're only doing yourself benefit, right? Once you have reached the end of the stage of discussions, you've cleared all the 4 or 5 rounds of interviews, whatever is the process, right? Assuming everything is good, that's when you have leverage, right? If the company wants to make you an offer, right? That's when you really have leverage to understand how much can you negotiate, okay? In that case, you let them come back with an offer. Like they'll reach out to you saying, hey, congratulations, you've cleared all the rounds. Like the HR would give you a call or something. And they'll ask you, right, okay, so let us know what are you expecting? It's like, I'm not expecting anything. I'm comfortable with where I am. I can share you my previous salary or my current salary numbers, but right now I don't have any expectation. My highest priority is making sure that we are a good fit. And the key thing is we are a good fit, as in I am good fit for the company and the company is a good fit for me. That's what I'm curious about. If you think that we are a good fit, let us know what you want to offer. And accordingly, I'll think about it and get back to you, right? Let them come back with the first offer. Feel free to give them your current or your previous number. That's just statistics, but never share an expected, right? That's a very standard rule of thumb, right? And that way, they will come back to you based on the sort of the budget they internally have. Now, if you feel that you really kicked ass on the interview process, right? You can always keep pushing the number higher, right? They came back to you saying, we can do $1,800, right? And remember, we discussed roughly in their mind, the limit was 2,000, right? And you feel 18 is good, but you really had a very stellar interview rounds and you could push the number higher. You could come back and say, no, 18 feels low. I want to go for 2,500, right? You don't know the 2,000 limit. That's just something internal, right? They just came back to you with 1,800. Now you go to 2,500 and they'll come back and say, okay, let's do this. Let's close at 2,100 or 2,200, right? This is typically how this whole sort of negotiation strategy happens, right? And the idea here is that, you got them to move above what they were willing to offer. Why? Because your interviewers were really impressed. They gave a very high rating about you, and they would like to do whatever they can in order to get you in. Contrary, if they come back and say, no, our hard limit is 18, we cannot go above 18 no matter what, right? Then either it is a legitimate reason that they cannot go over 18. Usually that's not the case, but most of the time you can get a sense that your interviewers were not as impressed. You met the criteria, but you didn't really perform stellar. So you were not really 10 on 10 in the interview. Maybe if the passing mark was 8 on 10, you just scored an 8, right? And they were like, okay, fine. The candidate looks okay, meets all the base criteria, check. So let's just give this person an offer and get them onboarded, right? So that gives you a good indicator of feedback as to where do you stand in the ranking pyramid. If they keep coming back, no, we want to get you onboarded, and we can't meet you at 25, we want to do 21, you say 23, they'll come to 22, etc. So you do a little bit of this back and forth, and you get a much better offer compared to just going in with a random number, right? So that's the process that you want to follow. And this is something that you can apply to pretty much all cases, not just specifically gaming. You can apply the strategy everywhere. Yeah. Sorry. There are a bunch of more questions. Let me just scan through. Satnam, meanwhile, you want to take over? I'll just go through the questions quickly in chat.
Sure. Works for me. Cool. So this is like quick overview about how exactly the jobs things work on the Outscal Academy. Right now, our major focus is more towards developer-oriented jobs. But as you might see, there are other jobs as well that are now popping up on the platform and will continue to pop up in the next 1.5 week, basically. So yeah, this is a quick overview about jobs. Coming to upskilling, a lot of you guys are also here for the orientation / what happens in upskilling. So I'll just give a quick overview about that as well. There are certain projects that are available over here that you can come and do for free, particularly that we've made available for and accessible for the community that wants to enter into the gaming industry, but has no idea about what exactly happens in game programming. So this is going to give you a pretty solid idea around that. Then we have some advanced programs for people who have already made up their mind that, okay, I'm damn sure I want to build a career in the gaming and get into a good company in the next 6 months, 1 year. These are programs made for those people. And then there are programs that are made for people who have been stuck. Let's say I have been working with a similar service-based Infosys Accenture company on game projects, and now I want to, just break loose and enter into the next generation of product-based companies. There are programs available for those people as well. I'll quickly cover both the programs and give a quick overview about what happens in those programs. And then happy to take program-specific questions as well, while Mayank keeps a lookout for any generic questions that might pop up. So for now, as you can see, these are the two programs that are currently available. More programs will be becoming available in the upcoming 1.5 months, more or less. Right now, we've been doing these two programs for the past 4 years and have run, I guess it was the 24th clan that we started, and right now the admissions are just closed due to the reason that we have a backlog of candidates and a lot of people in the wait list that we are still getting enrolled into the program every month. And then most probably the admission process for the new program will start around January, mid, and the next batch will be starting around February. So these are the timelines for these programs. Of course, once you come over here and check out the details, more details, you will be able to get over email once you join the waitlist if you are interested. But just to go over a quick overview, you can come here, click on join waitlist, answer a couple of simple questions over here, and then you will get an email updating you your waitlist number and stuff. So that's how this system is going to work. That will also give you a brief input about when you can expect your batch or clan to start based on your own waitlist number. Going into a quick preview about these programs, this is your full stack game development program, which starts from the very basics. So OOPS C++ for anyone who's just entering into the field of programming, might not even have a prior programming experience. This program is suitable for them as well. If you already have solid programming experience, but feel that you might want to revise your fundamentals, or you've been consistently working in some other programming languages like Java or JavaScript, haven't ever touched on C++ or C# till now, then this program is actually what is meant for you. So usually the program starts with OOPS, C++, Unity fundamentals. You can come in and preview the details about what all topics are covered inside individual modules. But the one thing that you will find through and through is a lot of assignments and a lot of projects, basically. So all these things are very important when it comes to applying for a job in the gaming industry. The first thing each and every company is going to ask is what kind of projects you have under your belt. How many projects do you have? Are those contributions or are those projects that you have built on your own? A lot of people think that, okay, I have built a replica of this XYZ game. It's a good replica. The company will hire me. No, they're not looking for replicas. They're looking for original concepts. So that is what companies usually tend to search for or look for. So yeah, projects are very important. But just to give a quick overview how the structure works, you will, of course, this platform is already there. You come up, sign up on the platform, and then you start working in a community-based model where you interact with your peers, your seniors, even mentors coming in from the industry who will help you, guide you through the program end to end, help you with your interview practices and stuff, to give you a better overview about what to expect while sitting for your interviews, what to expect while in your first job per se. And at Outscale, we're just trying to recreate that experience for you when you are in a game studio, what kind of projects you are going to see, what kind of work strategies, what kind of team are you going to work with. All the same things, similar things is how the program is structured over here. Moving from OOPS and C++, of course, you move on to Unity fundamentals. It's to get started with C# programming language and gaming engines in general. And in this one, you are particularly building a 2D platformer. That is one project that's mandatory from Outscale. But then again, you'll be working with your mentors and SMEs and other seniors and batchmates to discuss and build your own personal projects that are very necessary when it comes to building a portfolio and all. Data structures and fundamentals, a very general misconception that is there in the, specifically for beginners in the gaming industry, is no, gaming doesn't need that data structure experience or good knowledge of data structures and algorithms. Trust me, when people apply, or even if you are going for these jobs, you will find majority of the jobs have a data structure module added to it, because it's very, very necessary. Whatever job you might pick up, if you are applying for a good enough company, you will find a data structure and algorithms assessment compulsorily attached to that, just because 80% of the companies are evaluating on your DSA. If you are not good with your DSA, the company is just not ready to offer you a position as a game developer. So that's how it works. You can be a kick-ass developer, but then a kick-ass engine knowledge, you might have a kick-ass engine knowledge, but then again, to be a great developer, you need that data structures and algorithms knowledge, which is very necessary again. So yeah, basically you will be building a lot of projects on DSA as well. Usually these are the modules that tend to take more of your time, just because working on game-specific DSA is something that is very rare to find on any of the platforms or any of the DSA that you might have done till now. So that is something that you really want to invest in and sit down for. Moving ahead, the next module is your Unity Advanced, or generally how our team calls it is Game Development Advanced. This module revolves more around your programming patterns and code architecture and code optimization, basically working on patterns like singleton, observer, object pooling, MVC, and stuff. And then your how the code architecture of things works, how to optimize your code in a better manner. So all these things are what are covered in the game advanced game development or Unity Advanced module of the FSGD or full stack game development program. So as you can see, the topics are already mentioned. You can go and check out these. There are game jams that tend to happen. There are a lot of other things, other projects that you will be building through and through. As you can see, there's a chess system that you're going to build. There's a battle tank game that you're going to build. So all these things are again going to take place in this. And again, the breaded data structures and algorithms advanced. So basically, again, these things are again very important. Once you've covered the fundamentals here, you have to go into these if you want to crack into those AAA studios like Rockstar or Zyngas or Sumos of the world. Data structures advanced is very important. Well, the day you sit with Rockstar, they don't actually care about what kind of gaming knowledge or game engine knowledge you are bringing to the table. They are straight away, they give you a test, and the test is based purely on logics. And what kind of logics are you able to build around C++ and DSA? That's what they're going to test in your assessments while you have applied for a role with the AAA studios. Smaller startups working on not very advanced games, maybe hyper casual games might not need a advanced level of DSA. They might need a basic level of DSA, but then again, they also feel that DSA is very important. So yeah, this program is more for someone who's looking to switch the career into gaming, or someone who's just beginning a career into gaming. So this program is more meant for them. Switching to Unity Advanced or game development Advanced.
Yeah. I think there are a couple of relevant questions regarding full stack as well. So I'll just address those while we are at full stack. Raghav asked whether this is more self-paced or there will be live sessions happening. So Raghav, essentially, it's a mix of both. Yes, the speed at which you are able to move forward is completely self-paced. So then if you can go inside the preview mode, because what you can see, there are different modules that we talked about regarding OOPS and Unity and Unity Advanced and DS Advanced and so on and so forth, right? You move at your own pace when you have these kind of topics that you're going through. So you're not bound by the speed of others. If they are slow and you are faster, you're able to allocate more time. You can move faster. But then there will be live sessions along the way that that focus on giving you feedback on the things that you have done, right? A lot of things, what we have seen in the past is that when you're going through the learning journey, let's say if you're learning through YouTube or something, right? One critical thing that's typically missing in that whole aspect is that you don't get personalized feedback on the things that you have implemented, whether they're correct, whether they're incorrect, and so on and so forth, right? So there will be mentor sessions along the way. There will be one-on-one sessions with your mentors, which will happen weekly. And that will give you a mix of both hybrid nature of, moving fast at your own pace, or sometimes if there's too much workload and if you're a working professional, then taking a couple of weeks slower, but then catching up later. Kind of, it gives that flexibility with working professionals to adjust, but also there needs to be a live touch point in order for you to get the right feedback, connect with other members, both within the community and the cohort, and then your mentors as well, like Siddham mentioned earlier, right? So hopefully that makes sense. And I think, Raghav, you also had another question regarding, are we planning to add AR, VR? Not specifically. And the reason is not because we don't see the value of learning AR, VR. What we have often seen, and trust me, I've been hiring developers and artists and designers for the last 7-8 years of my professional career and building game teams. One thing that we have seen across the board is that while people can learn AR, VR, they often forget to master the fundamentals. And fundamentals is what basically gives you the skill set of a solid developer, right? And that's where essentially you end up lacking if you start jumping too soon into learning AR, VR, because at the end of the day, AR, VR are tool sets that you can add on top, right? So if you imagine like a pyramid, right? The bottommost layer is your object-oriented programming concepts, not even any programming language, right? On top of that, you get actual programming languages like C++ and C#, right? And on top of that, you get the third layer, which is Unity. And on top of that, then you get AR, VR, right? So progressing through these layers in that manner is very important. And what often happens is that people directly jump into the AR, VR layer, skip through the rest of the stack. So while you might be okay to start building basic applications, suddenly if I ask you to architect or build, say, like your Pokemon Go kind of an experience, right? You have absolutely no clue how to get started, right? Why? Because those 3 layers of stack which relate to fundamentals of thinking of solving a problem, those are usually missing, right? So that's one of the reasons why we have shied away over the course of last 4 years, not to add AR, VR specifically, but yes, we are considering it. We are thinking about it. Maybe we'll come down the road, but not as of now immediately. And frankly, to get a job and to get started with your, say like your first career in the industry, you don't specifically need that skill set if that is what you're referring to, okay? Prajwal is asking, if you do not have the specified system requirements, will there be a cloud lab setup? We are figuring that out, Prajwal, right now, because you have to run a system like Unity or Unreal, a proper game engine. The tech is not yet that fluid in terms of having a cloud environment all in all through, especially if you're running bigger projects, right? For some of the smaller projects that might not have very high sort of requirements, like a live streaming setup would work. But then again, if you don't have the specs, working in a cloud environment might be tricky, because you would still need a very good internet connection as well, because you're streaming a lot of data back and forth between the server. So right now, it's not part of the program. There is a startup that we are looking to partner with who is building some of this technology stack, but I don't expect that that would be operational anytime within the next 3 to 6 months, because it's still very early days to figure out how to make this whole sort of technology work, especially with like complexity of today you might be working with Unity, tomorrow you might be working with Unreal, tomorrow you might be working with something else, all that stuff. Yeah. Can we pick up individual? Yes, Ishant, you can. Just send an email to admissions@outscal.com. We'll figure out whether an individual thing makes sense for you. I think Satnam was about to talk about the Unity Advanced program, the Game Dev Advanced program, basically. So if you are a working professional with 3-4 years experience, you understand the fundamentals of Unity and game development, you can look into the advanced modules. But in that case, our team would first need to evaluate whether you have the right base level, because a lot of times the base itself is also not very sound. And if in the fundamental layers, there might be gaps, then going into advanced is not going to help you as well, because those cracks and gaps will start to show up in the interview process. Okay. For the 6 months program, with the fees, Satnam will just come to that and answer that in a bit. There will be group video doubt session, fixed number of doubt sessions. Doubt sessions will be kind of fixed and variable as well. There is a system where you can log in a request for asking for doubts, and you'll get assigned a one-on-one coach, and you can book that sessions basically separately when you have major doubts. There is Discord community, which is acting fluidly. You can go in and ask a lot of doubts there, and the community is very helpful. So you have the Discord as an access, you have group sessions to discuss with your clanmates and with your mentors, and you have individual sessions to access as well. So there are ample opportunities in short for getting your doubts cleared. Okay, perfect. Okay, I don't see any more in specific questions. So now I think we can jump into a little bit of Unity Advanced. I think there were a few folks about advanced stuff. Saddam, you're on mute.
Sorry, my bad. Cool. So Ishant, as you were saying, right, you want some specifics. As Mayank rightly mentioned, we like to have a call. A lot of times people feel that, okay, C++, I know that's a basic thing, right? But then again, entering into a discussion and figuring out what level of C++ you know is very important. Just to put into perspective, if you feel that any of these modules might not be relevant for you, you might want to take up some selective modules out of these. We do that customization for you, but that's only after we've had a chat with you, understood your background in depth, understood your technical abilities in depth, and figured out, okay, yeah, we feel that you don't need it. If you need it, we'll pretty much make it clear that you need these stuff. Without these stuff, it's going to be very difficult to understand the advanced stuff or advanced modules that are there. Giving a quick overview about the Unity Advanced. Currently, it's Unity Advanced. More or less, the name's gonna change to Game Development Advanced. The reason is that it's gonna cover concepts and topics that are not only relevant for Unity, but can be implemented in Unreal or Cocos or XYZ, whatever gaming engine you might be working for. So just talking about it, it's more relevant for people who've already had some solid experience in the gaming industry, minimum 2 years and 5+ projects in the gaming industry. It's not like your indie projects. You might even have worked as a freelancer. That's still fine. But yeah, there are certain criteria that you need to meet while doing this Game Advanced program. It's going to focus more towards your game programming concepts related to gaming, like computer programming related to gaming specifically, how and what to expect while using the right programming patterns, or how to use the right DSA for achieving the right results. So it's more oriented for those people who already have some sorts of an experience and are now looking to, crack, like maybe they have been working as a SDE2 for now 4 years, 5 years, they're not able to step up their game to SD3 or a senior engineer. That is where this program particularly comes in, or even a SD1 looking to get into SD2 role. So that's where this program becomes helpful for that kind of a talent to crack into the next level of role in the gaming industry or the gaming space itself. So this is how these two programs generally work. If you have any questions, happy to take these over in the chat. I think there's a fee related question. I'll just quickly let me know. Is my screen still visible?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. So how to apply? Yeah.
Sorry, one quick question. Ram just mentioned, like, are the instructors, mentors actively working professionals? That's exactly the case, Ram. So when you're going through the C++ module, typically, like, your C++ mentors and coaches are usually folks who have cleared C++ rounds with top tier companies. Some of the past mentors, etc., have been from companies like Amazon, etc., as well, like SD1s, SD2s, etc., and they go through hardcore C++ practice in terms of clearing their interview process, of course. And then a lot of times the folks who are taking the mentorship and the sessions are folks who have gone on and graduated from the program a few years ago, and now are working professionals in the industry, and also folks who are just working and might have never graduated from Outscal, but they're just working professionals with Unity or Unreal, and working with game companies or even non-game companies that are now starting to use these engines as well. So to answer your question, yes, that will be the case. People who are bringing in day-to-day industry knowledge back to you guys, basically. That's how it's structured. Yep. Is the DSA course in C++ or C#? Great question, Raghav. DSA is all C++. So that's something we hardcore insist on, because you need to practice data structures a lot with C++. That gives you good strength and mastery over the C++ language. And then you get to sort of focus on larger projects within the Unity space, and that gives you strength over C# language, right? So that gives you coverage of two of the most important languages that are used in the industry, especially if you're looking for gameplay engineering, game dev kind of roles, right? Obviously, if you go to backend engineering, the role is slightly different, but between C++ and C#, if you have these two languages mastered, you're good. So yeah. I have done some small projects in Unity, but don't know anything about Unreal. But Unreal is getting popular in the market. So should I need to spend some time on Unreal Engine, or I can continue with my Unity mastery? So Abhishek, that's a very good question. It purely depends on what do you define as mastery, right? Do you have 2 years of professional experience building kick-ass projects and launching basically production quality games in Unity? Then great. If you think it's 2 years of passive indie work while you are doing, say, let's say, regular software development job, or maybe you're through college, and so depending on what exactly it is, where you feel you're comfortable in terms of your level of mastery, I would say continue to focus on building your mastery and skill set, because that is what takes your sort of demand in the market higher, right? Knowing 2 engines at 60% each is worse compared to knowing one at 80 to 90% and not knowing the other one. That's okay, right? Why? Because if you start to learn the other one, if you have a very good grasp of this one, 80 to 90% of the concepts are going to translate exactly the same from Unity to Unreal to another engine, right? How physics works, how collisions works, etc., etc. At the engine level, at the fundamental level of how you think about building a enemy AI system in Unity versus Unreal, more or less would remain the same, except for a few little details here and there, right? So if you have 80-90% mastery of one engine, and when I say mastery, I mean production quality mastery, right? Like not really just YouTube level stuff, right? YouTube is very shallow in terms of the kind of depth that it exposes in learning material and resources. So if you have that production quality where you've worked on a decent and a large size code base and so on and so forth, that's the level of mastery you want to get to, right? Because that's what will make you in demand in the market, right? Knowing both at 60% level, not good enough. Knowing one at 80-90% level, now that's something that companies want, right? So once you are in demand, you can transition over to others as well. But while Unreal, yes, you're correct, is rising in popularity as more and more studios are picking up Unreal as their go-to platform as well. But still, in terms of job aspects, they don't compare much in terms of numbers when it comes to Unity as well. So yeah. Does this include things like live ops analytics, etc., using, say, a cloud-based backend? You mean, are you referring to the program specifically? I'm not sure I could understand your question. If you're talking in the context of the program, then no. The program is purely focused on development, right? And live ops and analytics, a lot of those things are not core to at least a developer who's looking to get started or in the first couple of years of their experience. If you're at a young startup, you might get exposure to these early in your career and lifespan, but usually at a larger company where live ops is happening at, say a game like Tetris, which has 100 million monthly active users, if live ops is happening, usually there's a dedicated live ops team, analytics team that's looking at those things. So right now, those complexities are not involved in this specific program. Here, the goal is to get you from, wherever you are in that journey, whether you know a little bit of Unity or some, to all the way so that you can break into the right kind of opportunities, whether you want to aim for the rock stars of the world, or do you want to get at the next hot startup in the gaming space, right? Like the program's goal is to get you there in order to get your foot into the right door at the right time, right? So that's how the design has been architected for the program itself. Okay, I think that's majority of the questions. Siddham, you're on mute.
Cool. I guess I'll just give a quick overview. We've already covered applying for the program. Curriculum is also available here. I've already given a quick overview. Coming to fee structure, there are different fee structures available. This is the one which is the most favorable for anyone who's looking to join in. You pay one EMI at the time of joining to enroll into the program, to reserve your seat as soon as you can, to maintain your wait list. And after that, whenever your program starts, basically, right now we are not starting your batch per se, but your batch will be starting, let's say in February or March, whenever your wait list number picks up on the board. So our team will be reaching out for that. But right now you pay 10K to reserve your seat for the same, and then you pay 14 more EMIs down the lane for 14 months. Double line each to continue doing the program. Why we've structured it across 14 months rather than not doing it in 6 months, like not even 6 months, most institutes would do for 2 months or 3 months, because we want to make sure that you don't face a lot of burden of paying these EMIs. We know from our end, based on our experience, within the 6th, 7th month, candidates are able to complete the program on their own pace if they're seriously doing the program and get themselves a good, decent paying job. So rest, whatever EMIs need to come in, they'll be able to pay from their own earnings rather than being dependent on their parents if they're not right now earning, or having a lot of load of, if you're not currently working, you have a load like, okay, I have to pay these EMIs and I'm not working. So initially, yes, that load might be there, but eventually it will get decreased once you have completed the program and have started working in the industry. And it usually takes an average of 7 months for our candidates to start working in the industry itself. This is around the fees. If you have any other queries regarding the fee structure or what options are available, you can drop a mail on admissions@outscal.com. I'll quickly drop the email address in the chat itself. If anyone has more queries regarding the fee structure in particular, wants to discuss one-on-one with one of our business executives, just drop a mail. Someone will reach out either to you on email itself or give you a call as well. This is around the fees. This is for the full stack game development program, of course. And if you are opting in for the advanced program, then the fee changes, particularly for the advanced program. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, cool. So for that, pardon me. Yeah, so again, in that, you have EMI options that you can opt in for. Right now, what's getting covered in the program, in the advanced program, it's roughly 40K plus GST. And it's like, again, 9999 non-refundable. And then whatever amount is remaining, you can do that in up to 9 EMIs as and when you can pay. So that is up to you. Again, if you have any queries around this as well, just drop a mail on admissions@outscal.com and would be happy to have a chat with you and help you out with the best possible option for you in particular. So this is about, like, in general, the fee structure and all. Most of the things we've already covered. If anyone has any more queries or questions, happy to take those up. I'll just drop in the link for this as well in the chat, and Academy I'll drop once again so that anyone who's not yet signed up on Academy can actually go and sign up on Academy.
I think what we can do is we can cancel screen share as well because we have few folks left. Would love to see some faces. We've been talking for the last an hour and a half. So for all those who have stuck around till now, thanks for staying back, listening patiently. For those that interacted through the chat as well, really appreciate the questions that you guys asked. A lot of great questions along the way. So if you guys can, before we wrap up, I'm happy to take up any more questions if you guys have. Also, Prajwal is asking, is ISA covered in this? Unfortunately, Prajwal, ISA is no longer an option. That option has been removed overall from the program and Outscal in general. So, but if you have any issues and concerns, then just drop in the email on admissions. The admissions team will be happy to understand what your constraints are and see what we can do accordingly. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, any other questions? And we are happy to answer. I'm happy to take up any questions regarding the gaming industry as well, but would love to see some faces because a lot of names I can see are new. You guys are, we're interacting for the first time. So just feel free to ask. Yeah, Sajjan, I can see familiar face. He's also one of our current game devs, full stack game dev students as well. I didn't see Sajjan there in the chat before, but good to have you here. But yeah, anyone else, any other questions that you guys want to ask? Or maybe Sajjan, if you have any questions you want to ask as well. No, are we good? Or is it time to do the Outscal yoga? All right, I think it's time to do the Outscal yoga. Okay. If you guys, I think, Satam, is it the permissions are enabled for everybody?
Yeah, people can actually start videos. I just guess it's a shy bunch we have today on call.
Yeah. So... Okay. Awesome. So guys, before we wrap up, there is this fun exercise we love to do. It's a quick 10-second exercise. If you guys can open up your camera, doesn't matter where you are, mobile, walking on the street, sitting on your laptop or whatever, right? If you guys can quickly open up your camera, quickly open your mic. This is a very quick, fun game that we play. It's only 10 seconds long. And after that, we'll wrap up the session. So I would appreciate if you guys can join in. It'll be fun if more people join in, but I promise it's just a 10-second exercise. But I can see a lot of shy folks probably. I don't know why. I think Sajjan might have had done this exercise, Outscal yoga before. Oh, okay. I can see a bunch of folks coming in. So thanks, Ranga, Harsh, Abhishek. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. all of you guys.
Just one quick thing. Sorry, Mayank, for interrupting. Yep. Just switch to gallery view, everyone. It'll just become a bit more interesting.
Switch to gallery view. I think that'll be better because you can see other faces as well. Okay, so Harsh, Abhishek, Ranga, just unmute yourself as well. And here's what we're going to do. Okay, so I want you all to raise your hand up in the air in front of your camera. So put your hands in the air in front of your camera. Okay, and for others, just feel free to join in as well. It's just a 10-second exercise. Okay, just move your fingers really fast as if you're typing. Okay, all of you are want to be developers, build games, etc. This should be something very common we do, right? Okay, so now when I say 1, 2, 3, everybody will raise their hand up in the air and say go team. Okay, go, G-O, team, T-E-A-M, team. All right, got it? So not goatee. I'm not talking about the beard. Like it's not the goatee, it's go team. Okay. All right. So move fingers really fast in front of the camera. All right. 1, 2, 3. Go team! Awesome. Like, love the energy, guys. So thanks everybody for joining in. Hopefully the session was fun. You guys got to learn something new and interesting. And we'll see you guys back in the Discord community. Hopefully some of you will join the program if you're interested. Would love to see more of you guys there as well. All right. Take care. Have a fun rest of the evening. And I'll see you guys around. Bye.